Nice when you have a barefooted wife you can depend on for moments like this. There's a story that goes with this. Two of them, actually. One from the scripture, one that's not. The one that's not from the scripture is when we were, I don't remember if we were actually married yet. I don't know that we were, but this young woman, she did have one kind of disgusting quality, and that was that she would walk around town barefoot. And if I was to, say, share a space with her in the bed, I would see that, oh my gosh, she was going to bring dirty feet into my bed. I wasn't sure that being married to someone with such filthy feet was a great thing. And I appreciated kind of the hippie qualities of a barefooted woman, but I wasn't sure that I really wanted to deal with that. As years pass, she's been less barefooted, more wearing shoes, so washing her feet isn't a big deal. Her feet were pretty clean today. But this is what happens in the scripture, right? The Lord gathers his disciples. You got to really catch the scene of this story, because you've probably heard of the story where Jesus washes feet. But if you roll back as to when this happens in scripture, all right, so Jesus has his 3-year ministry in the north, in Galilee. We have the trip down to Jerusalem, and there's the big triumphal entry, Palm Sunday. Woohoo! Jesus is going to save us. Great. Now he knows the end is coming. He knows he's only got a few days left. And as they're approaching the city, he tells his disciples, go find me a donkey, go find me a colt. And he said, and they do that. And he says, and when you do, you're going to find us a place to celebrate the Passover. Okay. So they get to this place where they do the Passover, and this is what Jesus does. He gets a vessel, he gets a basin, gets a cloth, and he starts washing their feet. Now, a big part of the story here is that this is Jesus. He's the teacher. He's the master, right? He's, as they are seeing, God himself. And what's he doing? He's humbling himself. The culture of the day is that the job that I just did is the job of the lowliest servant. The lowliest. Man, you're starting wages. You're the equivalent of a 16-year-old working at Macca's. You know, when you're washing the feet of somebody, that's the worst job you could have. So they're going, well, you know, in a culture like that, you know, they care about status, right? Status is a big deal. And Jesus is just throwing all of his status away to wash the feet. So that's our story set up as to what's going on there. And so what I want us to do is kind of unpack and say, well, what are we supposed to be getting from this? What's the lesson here? So let's read the story. This is in your order of service in the back if you want to follow along, or just close your eyes and listen. But this is from John chapter 13. Now, before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour had come, that he should depart from this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. And supper being ended, the devil already put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him. Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, rose from supper and laid aside his garments. He took a towel and girded himself. And after that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel with which he was girded. Then he came to Simon Peter, and Peter said to him, Lord, are you washing my feet? Jesus answered and said to him, What I am doing, you do not understand now, but you will know after this. Peter said to him, "You shall never wash my feet." Right? You're too good. You're too amazing. I can't let you do this. Jesus answered, if I do not wash you, you have no part with me. Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not my feet only, but my hands and my head." He really gets enthusiastic, right? Jesus says, "He who is bathed needs only to wash his feet, but is completely clean. And you are clean, but not all of you." For he knew who would betray him. Therefore he said, "You are not all clean." So when he had washed their feet, taken his garments, and sat down again, he said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you say, well, for so I am. If then your Lord and teacher have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you. Most assuredly, I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is he who is sent greater than he who sent him. If you know these things, blessed are you if you do them." So this is the part where I will solicit audience feedback. He says, "I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you." What does he want us to do? Does he want us to wash people's feet? Now, I'm not looking for, right versus wrong answers here. There's a lot of room for good answers here. But what's kind of like what jumps to your mind as far as, well, what's the example? What's the message you can take from this? Being humble. That's certainly a winner of a one. Yep. Being humble is certainly part of this story.
Serving others, doing for them what they need, even if it's below our pay grade.
Serving others. Yeah, serving others, doing what they need, even if, as Jen says, it's below our pay grade or below our status, perhaps, is what. Yeah, right. That's a fair takeaway. I found an article in New Church Life about this story. And one minister went on for pages and pages about how this story is about being useful. Sure. I mean, yeah, go out and be useful. Is that the example Jesus is setting here by washing feet, by being useful? I mean, certainly the Lord calls us to be useful, right? And there's plenty of evidence for that. Be useful. Is that the example he's setting in this story? What other examples?
I think one of the main problems with that culture is we're all trying to be consumers. Gimme. My whole psychology is built around that. We saw Jesus was outgoing benevolence. So in terms of contribution, teaching be like him, heartfelt desire to contribute in a valuable way. It's hard because often so egocentric.
So I'll just repeat that for anybody who's listening online. Bede's saying that part of the problem in the world is we become consumers, we become ego-driven, and what Jesus is modeling for us here is being benevolent and outgoing and caring about somebody else instead of just ourselves. Is that fair summation? All right. Margaret?
Well, thinking about the washing part, cleaning feet, I would think it must have something to do with taking away the dirt. So the Lord removing things that are faulty or not being useful.
Okay.
Just looking at the washing.
Yeah. No, Margaret. Yeah. So Margaret's saying about the actual washing and about removal of dirt, trying to look at the actual activity itself and seeing that there's something about removing something dirty from our lives. Yeah, I think that's Makes a lot of sense to me.
with true teachings or truth.
Right. Now you're going a little deeper there, right? Removing it with what? With water, which is a symbol for truth. And interestingly, just kind of going a little deeper here, right? You know, what is water in particular? It's natural truth. It's not wine. You're not removing it in wine. It's not spiritual truth, right? So it's truth that you see in this world. It's not particularly deep. It's just kind of right and wrong kind of issues, right? It's, hey, yeah, I do know better than that, right? That's it. You know, when you think of washing stories, we have the famous one in the Old Testament, right? Naaman, he's told to wash in the Jordan River. He's got leprosy. He's of a foreign country, and he goes to the great prophet, and Elijah says to him, go wash yourself in the Jordan 3 times. He says, that's a dirty river. We have rivers way better in Damascus than this stupid old dirty river. And the servant wisely says to him, well, if the prophet had told you to do something else, wouldn't you have done it? Yeah, you're right. Okay. So he washes, and of course, he's clean. He's clean. Washing is a common one. I think they were looking around when he says you're not all clean. Wow, you know what's wrong? Yeah, certainly does. Certainly does. Here's, but before we kind of dig a little deeper into the correspondences here, but think about what he's. I think about this as, all right, this is with his most loved, his most treasured people, right? And these are the ones who are on the inside of all of the ministry. They've gotten the most, you know, dare I say, secret information. They have all the scoop. He knows this is the end as far as any kind of really personal teaching moments. Last words often mean a great about maybe your parents, grandparents, whatever, their last words on the deathbed. I really loved you guys. You know, stuff like that. We think, oh, deathbed words are so important, so powerful, because that's the thing that they wanted to leave you with. Jesus is saying, this is the end. And this is the example I want you to follow. Right? A lot of things he could have said or done right there. This is it. It's not, hey, for the last 3 years, I have taught you the difference between right and wrong. Make sure you do the same. Make sure you tell those sinners and rebuke them like I rebuked the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Go in those temples and turn over tables. That's what I want you to do. Nope. Doesn't say that. It doesn't tell you, well, this is how I want you to think. I have shown you how to think the last few years. It's really important that you just like I do. That's the number one. I've been healing people. He gives them powers for healing and stuff like that. I want you to go out and heal people. Oh, think of all the different things he could have said based on the life he lived. And he says, I want you to be a foot washer. Doesn't sound really impressive, does it? I want to be the demon caster outer, right? You know, I want to be the person who tells everybody what's right. He says, I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you. If you look on the next page of your order of service, I have handily given you some Secrets of Heaven readings, some Arcana Celestia, to kind of tell us what this is about. And you've picked up some of this stuff already. It is evident that washing is used to mean purification from evils and falsities. Water in a basin to mean the truth of faith, which is within the natural. The linen towel, which the Lord was girded with, and which he used for wiping, to mean divine truth emanating. Feet, to mean the natural level in a person, and washing the head, hands, and feet to mean regeneration, as is he who has been washed, so that washing the feet is used to mean to purifying the natural level in a person. That last line, I think, is the key to all this. You know, Margaret was kind of teasing around the edges of this. You know, what is this example about? The example is about purifying the natural level in a person. All right, what does that mean? I want to purify your natural level. All right, Lord says, go do this, and I want to go out and I want to purify everybody's natural level. Oh, okay, I've got the example. I've got the teaching. What does that mean? Oh, what does that mean? Purify the natural level. Sounds really important. I think Secrets of Heaven 3147 gives us a better explanation, a more clear explanation as to what that means. In the representative church, washing feet with water was a ceremonial act which meant washing away the filth of the natural man. The filth of the natural man is all the things that belong to self-love and love of the world. And when such filth has been washed away, goods and truths flow in. For that filth alone is what hinders the influx of good and truth from the Lord. For good is flowing in constantly from the Lord. But when by way of the internal or spiritual man, it reaches the external or natural man, it is either perverted there or turned away or stifled. But when indeed the things that belong to self-love and love of the world are removed, good is received there and bears fruit there, since the person now performs the works of charity. This may become clear from many considerations such as this. When the things that belong to the external or natural man are quiescent, as they are in times of ill fortune, wretchedness, and sickness, and to will what is good, and also to perform acts of devotion insofar as he is able. But when this state alters, these things are altered too. Washing of feet is washing away the filth of the natural man. What is that? What is the filth of the natural man? I mean, it does give us something here. It says things that belong to self-love and the love of the world are removed, right? That's what you got to remove. Remove the self-love and love of the world. Okay. Anybody got an example on that? What does that sound like to you? What is this foot washing?
The self-love and worldly love habits, like wanting to be better than others just for the sake of being better than others. Wanting to have possessions just for the sake of having possessions.
Okay, so my feet are going to get dirty just by doing this, right? This isn't difficult, right? My feet are just going to get dirty the more I move around. So when I think about washing of feet, I think about how they're getting dirty. Why are my feet getting dirty? I'm not really walking through mud. I'm not like a pig. I'm not rolling in filth. I'm just getting from one place to another. If I continue to not wear shoes throughout this week, my feet will get dirty just going from my house to Baringa, right? And it's not a very far walk. It's just going to happen. So when I think about this example of foot washing, to me, this speaks to the fact that you're just going to get dirty working through life. You're going to go to work or to school or whatever it is you do to amuse yourself, to entertain yourself, to be busy, and you're going to get dirty. It's just going to happen. When I think about why do we come to church, I would bet most, if not all of you, have heard this story before. I'm not telling you a new story. Some of you here are preacher's kids, and you've probably heard this story plenty of times, right? We come to church not because you necessarily are learning something that you didn't know already. You're coming to church, in my view, to kind of reset your spiritual compass. You've been chasing the work, you've been chasing the money, you've been chasing the this, the that, the other, and it's so easy to worry about the world. Oh, my kids are doing this, my grandkids are doing that. Oh, my daughter needs a help here, or my son needs a help there. You're moving about, you're doing life. And in my life of selling race car parts before this, it was very easy to get sucked into the whole idea of love of the world, right? Every month I got to make commission numbers. Every month my ego is telling me I got to be better than the guy sitting next to me. Every month the guy, I'm saying, oh, I beat him last month. I don't want to lose the status. I don't want to lose that status of having been the top sales guy for the last year. I got to keep doing it again. Every time that phone rings, it's stress. I got to make this sale. That's just moving through life. And I'm picking up all sorts of filth on my feet. The natural level of my world is not purified. It's dirty. Oh, we ran a car wash for a year. I gotta get the money into the bank. I gotta make the withdrawals. I gotta pay the insurance. I gotta make sure the place is maintained. I gotta do all these things. My mind is where? It's on the world. We come to church to reset and remind ourselves, hey, what's important? What's actually important? Oh, it's important to spend time with our family. It's important to help somebody out. Even though you think you're a big shot, you got to sometimes kneel down and help somebody along the way. Margaret Ward said about humility, that was the first thing she picked up on, was the humility. So how does humility fit into this picture of purifying that natural world? To me, I see it as, hey, when you approach someone to wash their feet, because there is some truth involved, there is some perhaps amendment of life. It's coming from the perspective of, hey, we all have dirty feet. You're not coming there to beat them over the head about how filthy their feet are. It's, hey, I've been there too. I've worked through life. My feet have been dirty. It looks like you could use a cleaning here. Looks like your feet are kind of dirty. You're kind of caught up in the world. You're kind of caught up in all this stuff. You can't hear the Lord's truth when your feet are covered with dirt. That's what that Arcana passage is saying. As you go through the week, and you pick up all this stuff and you think you're whatever is so important, the Lord's teachings can't get through. Sometimes we talk in this world about there's a veil between us, this world, and the next. Well, the veil is right here. It's on your feet. You've picked up all this junk. And it says, the truth can't get through. Right? Where does let's see, the good and flowing constantly from the Lord, but when by way of the internal spiritual man it reaches the external man, it's either perverted, turned away, or stifled. You got too much junk on your feet. Too much junk on your feet. I think that's the lesson of this story. You're going to pick it up just by moving around. Not because you're a bad person, not because you intend ill. You're just doing life. Feet are going to get dirty. The example the Lord's saying to us, yeah, be humble, be useful. But it seems to me that this story is really about helping somebody calm down, receive the truth, about what's really important, open up that barrier between this world and the next, get those teachings and those priorities right. It's stuff they probably already know, but they've gotten lost. They've gotten lost. And they've had too much pressure on other points. They just go, oh yeah, right. Why am I here? Oh yeah, I'm here because, this is more important. My family's more important. My charity is more important. Well, that kind of thing. I think that's what this story is really about. And I think it's a good way for us to start the year. We're going to wrap this up and sing a song, and we'll do the Holy Supper for those who want it. Holy Supper is using wine. I do have water there for anybody who doesn't like alcohol, but the wine is there as a spiritual truth. It's something a little higher, and we're called for that as well. So when you take the elements, that's about making those part of the inside of your body, making them part of your thought process and your desires. Well, let's not forget about our feet too, as we start this year. Keep your feet clean. You don't have to wash every day your feet, but maybe once a week's a good idea. Amen. So